hello there, Hillary.
Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm about to be a whole lot better.
Let me see what you're drinking it in.
Oh, I have my Queen of Tarts mug because you got a
I have my
garden tart
garden
mug.
tarts mug, and it's Screwball. I
Yay!
opened a brand new bottle.
Well, this just lives down here now, right by my podcast setup, and I just rinse the mug out in the little wet bar right here, and it just stays there.
Smart.
Um, Quick side note before you get to our pod stats, I just on Amazon Prime Day, I got one of the mug makers on for the cricket.
Oh, fun.
So we can send people mugs now. Who wants a
everybody,
mug? It'll be
everybody needs one.
$500.
So today is Sunday, October 13th. If you're listening, it is on or after Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. This is season 6, episode 40.
Aww.
40.
And this is Kissing Lips and Breaking Hearts with Garden Tarts.
Yeah.
Look at this funny little shadow. Great
Plancha.
time.
Blue.
Screwball.
Oh, so good.
That's so amazing.
Dear Screwball, why don't you sponsor us? We drink enough of you. Love us.
Hearts, love us. Oh goodness. So we just had another Jewish holiday. You guys were talking about Rosh Hashanah last ep.
Yeah, and yesterday, Friday night and through Saturday night was Yom Kippur, and I actually had a really good, like, Rosh Hashanah isn't so great, but
Yeah.
Yom Kippur was really nice. Like,
Nice.
I understand the services a little more on Yom Kippur than I do. It's funny because you have to, different parts of the service, but there's a part where you read a list and it says, forgive me for the sins I've committed by tongue, by food, by stealing or whatever. And there's one, and you go like this, like you hit your left, you take your right hand and you hit your heart, basically, and saying, forgive me. So I'm going down the list, and one of them was like, I'm not wording this right, but it was something along the lines of like imprisoning your neighbor. And I'm like, do I really have to do that? Do I really have to ask forgiveness for that? But I'm like, I'm doing it anyway, just in case.
I feel like a lot of those, what you mentioned so far, like you could fit something in there somehow.
Yeah.
But that's really specific.
Really specific. And I'm like, it's got to be on there because at some point people did that.
Right.
Like, they don't just make rules for no reason. So,
no.
But then it's funny because my dad is a judge, and one of them is like, forgive me for the sin of passing judgment. And he's always like, that's my job.
I get paid for that.
Yeah. So anyway, you kind of have to like chuckle a little bit. And then my aunt, who is wonderful in a weird way, but I love her to death. She's very immune compromised, so she wears a mask, and she can't hear so well. And so my mom went out for a minute, and I don't know what she was doing, probably just going to the bathroom or something. But my aunt was like, "Is your mom leaving? Is your mom leaving?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "I'm looking at the book. I don't know." And she was just like, "What do you think she left? Is she going to take me home?" And it's like, you can't hear anything I'm going to say. So I'm like, maybe she went and got something to eat. Like, I don't know. But like, I'm having
You're doing sign language.
Trying to do sign language.
You're gonna do poop.
And but I can't yell because we're in the synagogue. And I'm just like, I just turned my back to her and I did an extra for thinking
an extra little punch for yourself.
Not nice things. So anyway, it really is like a cleansing holiday. Like, you don't
Yeah.
eat all day, which I drink, you're not supposed to, but I can't handle not drinking. But I don't eat, and it's not hard to do. It's just a day. And like when you think, I don't use, it depends. I go back and forth, but right now I don't eat breakfast. So it's like I'm just really missing lunch. Um,
Yeah.
so it's
Because
not
then you
that
have
bad.
dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. And then anyway, so I just felt like refreshed kind of. It's just like you kind of take stock in everything and I feel good. So Friday night, I met this lady who she's like the partner of a guy that goes to my synagogue that I've known for a long time. And
Yeah.
she started talking to me. And apparently, we went to the same school for a couple of years, elementary
Hmm.
school, which is really weird because I went to like 4 different elementary schools. So,
Right.
yeah. But anyway, we knew a bunch of the same people. I'd never met her before. And she's asking me about people from like 5th grade. And
Gosh.
it was so crazy. But anyway, we were like, sharing like mutual friends on Facebook and like it was really cool.
Wow,
So
that's fun.
it was really cool. Like I don't know, I just it makes sense. There's only one, Hebrew day school in the area, and I went there for a couple of
Yeah.
years, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that she would go there. But and it was just kind of cool. So then I came home. Like there's a break, and I usually don't go back sometimes, but
So, real
hi,
quick,
Sadie.
Sadie doesn't know that we publish video now.
Oh.
Hi. Welcome to the pod.
You wanna know what my favorite word is?
What's your favorite word? Excuse me, Hillary. What's your favorite?
Slithering.
Slithering?
Yeah.
It's a good one for you. Is
Slithering.
that why you came down here?
Yeah.
That's great.
Slithering.
Sorry about that, y'all.
That's so funny. Or was so I came home and I wasn't going back to the synagogue. It goes until like nighttime, but I wasn't going back. And my dad's cousin had invited us to go over there for dinner, but it's like breakfast. It's like brunch basically.
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
not a light meal after you haven't eaten all day. And
Right.
I'm like, no, I needed to finish Ray Donovan, and I didn't really want to go. And I didn't feel like being more sociable than I had been for the past 2 days. So
Yeah.
I like was sitting in bed watching Ray Donovan, and I'm just gonna stay there. And it was just a nice, quiet night. And my cousin texts me. She's the granddaughter of the lady that was having the brunch.
Okay.
And she lives in Virginia Beach. But she texted me and she was like, I'm at my grandma's, come over here. And I'm like, crap. I hadn't seen her in years. And
Yeah.
she was, and I wanted to see her. So I'm like, fine. So I got up and put some clothes on and went over, it's not far away, to my dad's cousin's house. And she was tons and tons of cousins. And like, really, it was like almost my entire
Oh my
congregation
gosh.
was there at this house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easily like 70 people or something.
Oh my,
I mean,
that's a lot.
it's a huge
Yeah.
house, but maybe not 70, but over 50. And
Wow.
anyway, I get there and she's like, come meet my daughter. She's a 4-year-old daughter. I used to hang out with my cousin Erica like all the time. She was my bar buddy before like my current friends.
Yeah.
And she's a good bit younger than me. But she's just so much fun. And we used to be really close. And then she moved to Virginia Beach. And so I don't see her very often. Anyway, so I go in and her daughter's there. And let me send you a picture
Okay.
on your phone because I kind of want your reaction to this.
Okay.
Of course, it's not going to paste.
There's like music we can add in when we're waiting for stuff.
Okay. I sent it to you.
Oh, that was a drum joke. I meant to drum roll.
That's good.
Does she look like Vivi?
Exactly like Vivi. It is nuts. My parents were like,
That is
like,
bananas.
it is bananas.
Y'all, she looks just like Hillary's niece. I would have
Like,
guessed that was her brother's kid.
I sent it to Kelly, and she was like, "That's not Vivi," and I'm like, "No." They are like, it is. They're like 6 months apart, maybe not even, but they're a
Yeah.
few months apart. But like my parents had already shown Erica pictures of Vivi, like when they saw her name's Sadie too, the baby. Her name's
Aw.
Sadie, and anyway, Erica was like, "Oh my god, how in the world did we have like clone babies like Jeremy and
Yeah,
Erica?"
well, and
But
it's
they're
not like
exactly alike. They're like, they love kitties, they love unicorns, they love dresses and sparkly stuff.
yeah.
And it's anyway, I'd never met
Oh my
this
god.
kid before in my life. I'd never met her. And she comes over and sits next to me on the sofa and starts like picking out my like highlights
Yeah.
playing with my hair. And then she's going through the phone and asking me, you know, like I pictures of everybody's cats on my phone, yours included. And she's
I
like,
believe
"What's that
it.
kitty's name? What's that kitty's name?" And then she would find a picture of, she'd go right to the pictures of Vivi. And she said, "Who's that baby?" But she would only go to pictures of Vivi and
Yeah.
say, "Who's that baby? Who's that baby?"
Aw.
It
It's
was
not you.
so, I know, it was so sweet. Anyway, they're gonna,
Crazy.
I sent a picture to Jeremy and he was like, "Holy crap." And like everyone's like freaking out about this because they really, really look alike.
And they
Um,
don't look alike like little 4-year-old white girls look alike. Like,
no,
they don't.
they don't.
Oh,
They
no, they
actually
very
look alike.
distinctly look alike, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same curly hair, same. I mean,
Big eyes, like
yeah, nuts. Um, so anyway, we were all just like, "How is that possible?" And so I figured they're like third cousins once removed, Vivi and Sadie, and
yeah,
I mean, that's a big difference to look that much alike.
it's a
But
lot.
anyway,
DNA is crazy.
it is. They're gonna hang out at Hanukkah, I think.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be
Nice.
crazy. I got to take a picture of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I get to my cousin's house. I'm sitting at this huge table, and a cousin sits like across from another cousin sits across from me, and he's asking about if I went to Sphere.
yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I went." And he was like, "How many times?" And I'm like, "Well, twice, but I went to 5 shows." And he was like, "I knew you had to be there." And he just had like millions of questions. He went through all my pictures and stuff. And he's like, I don't know, he's 20 years older than me, maybe more.
Yeah.
Um, and anyway, he and his wife are going out to see the Eagles in December. And he wanted to make sure that his seats were good. And it's like 306 Rogue 10 or something like that. And I'm like, "Yeah, perfect."
Be fine. That's so funny because just yesterday or the day before, I saw one of our members from the gym posted a picture of her and another one of our members who I don't know if they're like besties or related. I haven't put that two and two together, other than they're really close. But there was a picture of them in front of Sphere. And I was like, oh my gosh, did y'all go see the Eagles? And they're like, yeah. So I can't wait to talk with them about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear what my cousins say. But then it just, fear kind of like creeped across the table, and then everybody has questions like, "You went to Sphere?" And like everybody is like asking me
Yeah.
questions. I'm like, "Just wait in line, wait your turn, and I'll give you all the information you need."
Please
She's
submit
like,
your
"What
questions.
you can you can see up," and I'm like, "You can see like it's this, the seal, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
amazing." So then that conversation stops. I don't know what we're talking about. I think the Yom Kippur services or something. And this guy comes and sits at the end of the table, and he he's Israeli, and I don't know how, but it came up that my another cousin had seen Led Zeppelin when he was like 16 years old or whatever. And he
Yeah.
told the story that they were like really close and it was the greatest thing. Like, he was just telling the story. And then the other cousins started saying how they had just gone to see the Rolling Stones in, I think, Philly a couple months ago. And, we were just talking about like big bands. And I'm like, I've seen Billy Joel, you've seen Elton John. We were just talking about that stuff. And this guy
Yeah.
who I do not know. I mean, I've seen him in my synagogue for 30 years or something,
Yeah.
but I've never spoken a word to him. I don't know him. He's friends with my parents, but I've never interacted with him. And he was like, I have a story to top all that. And I'm like, really? And he said, I saw you two in Dublin. Like, what's bigger than that? And I'm like, seeing them twice? I win in Dublin. So he was flying, I don't know where, he's very worldly. He goes to Italy, he goes to,
Yeah.
Israel, Turkey, all over the place. But he
I got
was
that
like,
baby all red. Okay.
yeah. But he was on a plane that like had engine problems and they had to land in Shannon.
Okay. Yeah.
So they finally came back and said it's going to take like 3 days for us to get the
Oh
part for the
my.
plane. So if you can stick around, just come back in 3 days. And he
That's
didn't know
bananas.
when this was. Like, he couldn't even estimate when this was. So I don't know. It could have been E&I. It could have been, Joshua Tree. I don't know. He's an older guy. He didn't.
He
He
doesn't even know
wasn't.
if it was like 80s or 90s or
He just would not specify that. I tried to get the answer out of him, but it doesn't really matter in terms of the story. But so
right.
he takes or no, he rents a car and drives from Shannon to Dublin. And he's freaking out because he didn't actually know that the streets were,
Yeah. That's
backwards.
a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, he gets there and he's just walking around and he sees there's a U2 show. I should have asked if it was indoor or outdoor. I didn't ask that because that would have narrowed it down a little.
Yeah.
I think it sounded like it was indoor. And he was just walking around and this guy was like, I can't go and I have an extra ticket. And he was like, I just want one, like if you have that. And he's like, yeah, $100. So it's gotta be a while ago because it sure
Yeah.
was a markup,
Yeah.
from. And so he's like, okay. And he goes in and it was like a really great spot to be in. And he said he cried.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I do that at all 66 shows.
Both times in Dublin.
Both times in Dublin, which was just really like a really cool, like he just like jumped in and
Yeah.
I didn't even say, this is what I do. He just jumped in and started telling this amazing story.
U2 was so he wasn't there for the sphere stuff.
No, he wasn't. He
That's
wasn't even
crazy.
in the house when the sphere stuff went
That's
down. So
crazy.
he just, unless someone like specifically directed him over to me, like we're not friends on Facebook. I don't know. I mean, he was really good friends with my grandmother, and I'm sure she talked about it, but I don't.
Yeah, but
It
yeah.
seemed like a really like general, just like, well, I've got a good concert story. And then he literally like he finished the story and he's like, I gotta go. My ride's here. He got up and left. Anyway, he's Israeli. It was just a really. I told him that we went to temple there, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just an interesting
That's awesome.
evening of
Yeah.
stories. But everyone was like going around who they saw, and then a
It's so
friend of
much fun.
my parents was like, he when we were back to talking about the sphere, the cousin that was sitting next to this guy who's like my parents' age, so he's like 80, and the guy sitting next to him was probably 70, who was going to see the Eagles, and he was like, I'm going to see the Eagles, and this guy was like, I don't know these new bands, and my dad's like, I don't know, and I'm like,
Your
they're like
dad doesn't know who the Eagles
early.
are?
I don't know how. I really would have thought he would have known the Eagles, but I'm like, you realize that's a band from like more than 50 years ago.
Right.
And
Like
that's
that's
new. Yeah,
yeah. Like your dad knows the Eagles. He just doesn't know he knows the Eagles
I
somehow.
think so. He might not have known their name or something. I don't
Right.
know. he might not have been entirely listening, but
Right.
anyway, it was an interesting adventure. And while we were talking about that, another cousin was listening to the story, and he said that he was in a bar, and when he was young, he was in a bar in Florida, and the hostess or something said, this is the best place you can go, like just like rock stars just randomly walk in here every night. Like every night there's somebody else in there, and he was sitting around, and Glenn Fry comes in. And so that was the
There
Eagles.
you go. Yeah.
Full circle.
The Eagles circle.
The last part of this story is that, again, like a few hours later, it goes back to Sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Another group of people were asking me about Sphere, and I said, everything was great about it, but the thing that sucked the most was that they were getting ready for Formula One, and everyone's like, Formula One. I'm like, yeah. It was anyway. The rest of the family are like massive Formula One people.
Oh my gosh.
So like my cousin's son went last year to Vegas. He's going, I think, to Miami next month, and then back to Vegas for Formula One again. And he had pictures of Formula
Wow.
One and everything, and I'm like,
You know who we learned recently loves U2 and Formula One
Bono?
is Kamala Harris.
Yes.
I wanted to hear more about U2. Why did Howard Stern have to cut her off? That made me sad.
Reasons to love her.
I know, right?
Yeah. I voted.
You voted? I saw. I
voted
canvassed today. It went pretty good. I went with a friend of mine. And usually in the past when I've canvassed, I've been put in like really, really rundown neighborhoods that like you knock on their doors and they're like, what are y'all doing around here? You shouldn't be around here.
Wow.
As soon as that sun starts setting, you need to leave. And we're like, but they sent us here. But it was interesting because, I mean, like we were in the projects once, but it was interesting because we actually debunked some like misinformation and stuff. Like they'd gotten calls and flyers and stuff. This was in 2016 about early voting being canceled or dates being changed, all these things that were completely incorrect. That was interesting. This time we were in a suburb neighborhood. We were specifically canvassing for our state senator, the great Sherrod Brown. And our job was to, canvassing is funny because you're also collecting data. You're also like, do these people still live here?
Right.
If someone answers the door and we're like, hey, Billy. And they're like, how do you know my name? Does Aunt Jan and Franny still live here? And they're like, what? In general, I'm amazed how many people answer the door and want to talk to you. Even if it's, I've already voted or I'm going to vote, happy to do so. But then we came across Michael. Oh, Michael. So it was like this really beat up, like you could tell this guy's a painter. Whoever was in this driveway, his car was covered in paint, ladders, paint supplies. Like this car has been through the ringer. And the front door is open. The screen is there, but it's almost as if there's contractors coming and going. So I was like, and so like we knock on it and someone says something and we're like, oh yeah, we're not just going to open the door. This guy comes over and he's like, you woke me up. And he comes over and he's like this big, tall black man. It's not that matters, but this is like visual because then like the stoop was really short. So we were like standing down on the steps. We were like looking like, he was like looking at a giant way up there. And he's a conspiracy theorist.
Oh no.
And he really wanted to have a lot of conversations. But it was mostly him talking. And the friend I was with is really, really good at engaging with people and letting them feel heard and seen and this and that. And I kept going on and he's like, so so much stuff, you know, I mean, black ops, sleeper cells, foreign government infiltrating our children to raise them is like,
Oh my God.
to, you know, it's crazy. It was a lot of crazy talk, but also a lot of like, there's stuff we don't know, and I don't understand how this works. And he's like, don't get on me. I voted for Donald last time, but don't know about this time. And what it comes down to is he doesn't think Donald's a good role model. Duh. He thinks that he's only going to do something good when people are watching. And that the president is just status. It's everyone underneath that's doing, it's people polling, and it's like a little bit, but also no, like it's all of them. The president is doing, but the president puts people in place to do that stuff.
Right.
They're not like puppets, unless your middle name's W. But if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. But he said, you know, I just don't know that Kamala is qualified. And it was really interesting. He's like, my friend was like, well, who do you think would be qualified? He's like, well, I really think Nancy Pelosi is really qualified. And Hillary Clinton, I voted for her. And we're like,
I made the funny look because I was surprised he said it. Not that I don't think they're qualified.
right. Like, wait, then why isn't Kamala qualified? Right? And first of all, he's like, she's never public, like, basically she's not black enough. And she doesn't live the culture, this or that. And also a lot of like the sleeper cell people pulling the strings in the government are Indian, South Asian Indian. And he thinks that her becoming president is just part of the plan. So we finally walked away. Finally, we were like, we're so sorry we had to cut you off. We've got like 80 more doors to get to. Like, thank you for talking. Please get out and vote, you know, whatever. And he's like, this was so great. I'm at this coffee shop with friends every night, and we just talk. We're white, black, young, old, Republicans, Democrats. We talk about all this stuff. And we're like, we won't see you there. But as we're walking away, I'm like, does he not trust Kamala Harris because she's Indian? Is that basic? And my friend's like, I think that's the problem. Like, that is so weird.
That's really weird.
And we're like, well, you know, she went to a historically black college. She pledged in historically black sorority. And he's like, oh yeah, that's all part of the plan.
Huh.
It's crazy.
I mean, it sounds like he did his research poorly.
Yeah.
But
and he did say, I'm a conspiracy guy. He admitted it. Whiskey and this laughing and this conspiracy is making me warm. So I'm taking off my sweatshirt.
I was warm before. I posted a thing that said, look, I know Darth Vader belongs to the dark side and he blew up a planet, but I just don't know enough about Princess Leia.
Oh. Then
my brother posted... What?
Right?
Right. Then my brother posted, it's like a conversation. It says, voter, what are your specials tonight? Waiter, well, we have an amazing burger made with the finest beef and the freshest bread. It will change your life. We also have a shit sandwich. Voter, tough call. I had a burger for lunch. What kind of cheese is on the burger? Then at the bottom, a friend of mine who used to work at a restaurant that I go to a lot, he posted a picture of Gaza.
Oh.
Just Gaza.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly to upset me.
Yeah.
So I'm just not saying, I'm not addressing it. I'm not deleting it either.
Don't take the bait, yeah.
No, I'm not taking the bait.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, that really...
Yeah.
He said, one time he said to me, he was so Democrat that he was a communist. And I'm like, that's not the same thing. Like communism is
Then you're
like
a communist.
you can't, it's
Then
not
you're
like
no longer a Democrat. You are a communist.
what he was saying was the left of of being a Democrat is being a communist. I'm
Hmm.
like, I think you need to do your research better, buddy. But anyway,
When I
that just
was,
tells you what kind of an idiot he is.
I remember being much younger. I mean, like probably elementary school, but old enough to remember. I was in the back seat. My mom was driving. I can picture where we were. We had just turned off our street. And I don't know what we were talking about or how it came up, but I remember just being like, Mom, why can't everyone just have the same amount of money? Let's just make it even. Like, this is ridiculous. Whatever sparked that, I was like, this is ridiculous. And she's like, well, honey, that's communism. And I'm like, but then why is that bad? And she was like, I just can't even get into it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. That's it. That's the story.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I mean, you got to learn how that stuff works at some point.
Right. Right. I thought it was a great idea. Like, why did
Yeah.
anyone ever think of this?
I've always said this. It's communism is great on paper, perfect on
Yes.
paper, but in practice, it just fails.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
No, I mean
Yeah.
it makes a whole lot of sense, but
Yeah.
it doesn't work. I
My
mean,
goodness.
we haven't seen it work.
No. No. It just can't.
Yeah,
There's too much greed in the world and too much power and too much everything
yeah.
for stuff like that to work. But yeah, it turns out it's not a great thing.
No, but I love when people give me a different perspective of what
Yeah.
kind of of what I believe. And
Hmm.
like most of the time I appreciate look at it this way. Like when we were talking to Kira and she said in England it's like a 2-year wait to get an appointment to speak to someone about mental health. And
Yeah.
they have socialized healthcare. Again, great idea. And I wish we had it, but I don't know how it
Hmm.
works. Like I don't know where does it work well.
Right. That it
I
suits
don't know
everyone.
the answer.
Right.
I mean, it seems like I don't know, Norway or something. It's, you get a year off when you have a baby and they give you a crib and all the stuff you need for a baby for you. I mean, that sounds really good. But
Right.
I don't know how what the other logistics are.
Right. Like if
I
the
don't know
mother
enough
and the
about it
father get
to
a
like
year off, like how does that work in the economy world? Like I feel like here in America, the economy would not survive through that.
right.
If someone was constantly taking a year off, different people, whatever, but we're just not, we'd have to like rebuild the whole system, which is
Right.
worth it. But
Yeah. But I saw this thing that made me I saw this thing about and I
keep
don't
this
remember
cushion
where it was. I feel like
here.
it was oh, I have mine in the other room. Um, I feel like it was like a Scandinavian country or something, but I don't remember where. But they give you this, like, when you have a baby, they give you this enormous box filled with
Yeah.
diapers and clothes and wipes and everything. And then when you take everything out of the box, you
Yeah.
can flip it over, and it's like a mattress. So it's like the box is a
Yes. Yeah.
so
I
you know what I mean?
remember reading about that.
Yeah, and that's genius. But there's and I am all for good healthcare, but I feel like there's got to be some disadvantage there. Like it's just I don't know that anybody's figured
Well,
it
is
out
it like
yet.
really high taxes? Like who's paying for it? Like, but
And I don't know enough. to like comment
Yeah, I
any
saw
further.
that.
It sounds like an amazing idea.
Just the acknowledgement that bringing home a baby is an insane move. Like,
Right.
just acknowledgement from the government was like, this is really hard and we want to help you a little bit. I mean, please. We have, I don't know if this is a county, a state, or a national program, but I had someone come visit me at home after my first kid was born. Check in, see how
Really?
we're doing, make sure the house is safe, make sure I'm good, the baby's good. It was like after a few weeks maybe. And I forget the name of the program. I think the name has actually changed. But I was like, y'all just do that? And they're like, yeah, it's like a well check, you know? And I'm like, oh,
That's gotta be like a
okay.
county thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it might
That's
be.
amazing.
Yeah. And I did not get it did not happen with Sadie that I remember. So either the program ended or it's like a first child thing,
Yeah. Well,
which is likely.
I need these. I'm like always addicted to these stupid BuzzFeed countdowns. And there
Oh
was
yeah.
one I've run into this so many times. I've seen so many people say the same thing, but they're like, it's like what's something that seems illegal but is legal. It every one of those lists has someone say bringing a baby home from a hospital. It's like I'm not supposed to be doing that.
It's like they just let you go. It's like they're like, oh, check, bye.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And obviously people have been giving birth and taking care of babies for all of time with way less resources and services that we have. So, but also like, yeah, it should be,
I had
it should.
I had a friend who's a physician's assistant who I talked to right after my brother and his wife had their baby Vivi, and I'm like, Jeremy was like, "Oh yeah, everything's great as long as we're holding her." And I'm like, "Oh, buddy,
Like,
you can't do that all day and night. Like,
yeah,
I don't
it's
think you
great
can
for
do that."
maybe a few days, maybe a few days.
Yeah, I don't think. And but he was like, "Yeah, this is great." And I'm like, "Oh no." But then when I mentioned it to my physician's assistant friend, she was like, "No, like that's what you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to just hold your baby all the time. That's what the baby needs. That's." And I'm just like, maybe in terms of nature, but we used to walk on all fours and we don't do that anymore either.
Yeah. Yeah, I was never given that instruction to just, I
Hold
mean,
your baby
especially,
all the
but then it turns out, I mean, if you're nursing, you're just holding that baby all the fucking time anyway.
time.
But I don't remember that being a part of the FAQ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's
she
been a
went
while.
she went back to work shortly after her baby was born, so I don't think that she did that. She couldn't have held her baby all the time, but
Well,
she
and maybe
said it
she was
to
saying
me like
it's biology,
right,
biology, bi-
biology.
thank you. But that was, I don't know, I was another version of that word, that's the way it's supposed to be, but it's not the reality of our situations. We
Yeah.
also shouldn't go back to work right away because we just spent 9 months rearranging our organs and
Right.
our
She
bodies
yeah,
change
says people
more.
want to do that.
Yeah,
Want to go to work.
our bodies change more in 9 months in a single pregnancy than a man's body changes their entire life. I learned that recently.
Don't doubt that.
I mean, I don't doubt it either, but I mean, you would think from like baby birth to death, there would be some kind of change, but
Right.
no, not compared to the 9 months of pregnancy. It is bananas. Being pregnant's bananas. It's weird.
But I mean, everything I mean, your brain rewires and stuff.
Yeah. Your hormones change, your organs change, your feet size can change, your hair color can change. I was so worried. My mom went up half a shoe size with each me and my sister. And I already have very big feet. And I was really worried that would happen to me, but they didn't. Thank you, Lord. We have a little bit of U2 news.
Yes.
A little bit of surprise news. And that is that with the announcement of how to reassemble atomic bomb, U2 released a few songs. One of them, The Picture of You, the X and W, Xanax and Wine. And it went, what is it? It went to number 50. It opened number 50 on the rock and alternative airplay chart on Billboard.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
I don't think this was one of their plans.
No, I would not.
No.
I mean, to me, and we've talked about this before, and I'm not saying this as an insult, but like, like taking old songs and turning them into newer songs and really it's a money grab, and it's fine because we're willing to pay that money and they
Right.
absolutely earn that money.
Right.
But then there's nobody, and I mean, if you don't want it, don't buy it. But
Right. Right.
I'm sure that was not the intention of that song being released.
No. This is an article in Forbes. It says the song was released in late September. It's the first taste of their forthcoming album, and it's clear that interest in all things U2 is still high.
Doesn't Bono
And
own a big chunk of Forbes? I'm pretty sure.
I wonder what Google says. Is Forbes on its own thing, or is it under someone? I didn't ask if he owned Forbes. No, Bono does not own Forbes. It's owned by Integrated Whale Media Investments, a Hong Kong-based investment since 2014.
I mean, I know he doesn't own it, but I think his investment.
Here's something about Bono's investment. In 2006, Elevation Partners, a private equity firm, purchased a 45% stake in Forbes. However, Elevation Partners no longer has a stake in the company after selling Forbes in 2014. Bono also bailed out of Forbes in the sale. So there was something.
Yeah.
Here's something from Forbes. Why isn't Bono? Why
A billion? I just
Bono
saw that
isn't a
too.
billionaire? I don't know.
He's not a billionaire because I think he hides the $1 million that stops him from being a billionaire under his mattress or in the freezer or something like that, just
Something
for
like that.
safekeeping. I've been watching a lot of Ray Donovan, and that's what they do. Guns in the freezer, money in the freezer.
That makes sense.
This lady, in an episode, this Ray Donovan goes to this lady's house and says, "I need my father's gun," and she opens her freezer and she's like, "Which one is it?" And it's full of guns. Like, she hides guns for everyone apparently.
I don't have all like the new shows coming out, and you have to let me know when you've watched the third episode of Be NATO, because
I'm gonna watch it when we're done with this.
there's a funny little joke in there with Buck that is only funny because we recently learned that he's not American.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You'll get it. You'll get it.
Cool.
And we recently learned he actually has an accent.
Right.
So you'll giggle. You'll giggle.
There's a guy in there are two people in Ray Donovan that have Boston accents, but in real life, one's from Northern Ireland and the other's from like, I don't know, somewhere in England.
That's crazy.
And but one of them does a really good Boston accent. The other one slips up from time to time.
Mm.
I don't know what that accent is. It's not British, but it's also not Boston.
Yeah.
But like half the dialogue in that show, it is somebody saying "sure." They don't say yes or okay. It's like "sure" with like 12 syllables. Sure.
I'll check it out eventually.
It's real. The characters are really well developed, and it's just, I like it. It's like I have the same feeling with it that I did with Sopranos. I was a little more invested in Sopranos, but
yeah,
it also had a longer run.
Yeah.
But if you watch Ray Donovan, hit me up because I really need someone to talk to about it, and I don't know anyone who's watched the whole series.
Yeah, please give Hillary someone to talk to
Please,
about it.
I need you
She
to have
finally
seen
finished it.
the whole series and the movie because there's a movie at the end of it.
Yeah, it's so smart of them to have that movie.
Well, it was because they got canceled before they could finish
Right.
telling the story.
Smart.
It was
Yeah.
smart.
We should mention if anyone is in Florida, we just hope you're safe and well and um your person and your property, these things. So if you need
It's
anything, let
okay to
us
accept
know.
help from FEMA.
What?
It's okay to accept help from FEMA.
It's okay to accept help from FEMA. They're not going to rob your identity from you.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. I can't believe that's a thing.
I can't either.
Yo,
That's the disaster this country has become.
yo, so those of you who haven't heard this, or if you're not American and aren't, bless you for not being keen to this kind of conspiracy shit, but yeah, there are people not accepting federal help because they've been convinced that they'll steal their identity, or I don't know what other versions of that there are, but that something bad will happen if they take money from the government who's literally there trying to support them.
Right. Well, Trump says that FEMA gives every illegal immigrant like $1,500 just for being an immigrant, being an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
He also called Kamala Harris this week the R word.
He did not.
Yeah, he did.
He just straight up said it?
Straight up said it. Google it. And you could
I
put
mean,
R
I've
word.
heard him say that she was born not mentally well.
No, he said R word. And he said, like, I feel like I'm screwed either way. But he said if he loses this election, to blame the Jews. So, like,
It's really
but if
great.
he is elected, I mean,
Does he get to thank the Jews?
he's not going to thank us. He's going to still rile up his Nazi friends.
I know. I was joking a little bit there,
Yeah,
but
I mean, either way, I feel like we're kind of screwed at this point.
did he say that stuff at a rally? God, what an unhinged piece of shit. Like, it just keeps getting worse. How does it keep getting worse?
I don't know, but I sent this to Kelly, and I got to read it. I got to try at least to read it out loud. I'm not sure that and I don't have glasses with me.
This
But
is your Trumpism of the night?
this was a Trumpism. Okay, so it says a new word salad from the stable genius. I don't think I can read all this. My eyes are not good. He said, and then all of a sudden you hear that every big plant is leaving Milwaukee. It's very sad to see. And it's so simple. I mean, this isn't like Elon with his rocket ships that land within 12 inches of the moon where they wanted to land or gets the engines back. Okay, I'm saying this exactly how it said. Like,
Yeah.
it's not me reading this poorly.
Right.
He said, these things were coming. Cylinders, no wings, no nothing. They have coming down very slowly and landing on a raft in the middle of the ocean, someplace with a circle. Boom. Remind me, I can't read it. Remind me of the Biden circles that he used to have, right? He'd have 8 circles and they and couldn't fill them up. But then I heard he beat us with the popular vote. I don't know. Couldn't fill up the 8 circles. I always loved those circles. They were so beautiful.
What circles?
I'm crying. Oh, this is not funny. Okay. they were so beautiful to look at. The person that did that, that was the best thing about the level, that the circle was great, but they couldn't get people, so they used the press to stand in those cities because they couldn't get the people. Then I heard we lost. Oh, we lost. Oh no, we're never gonna let that happen again.
I I don't know. What's circles?
Your face is red, so is mine.
I know. It's like I'm like I can't even.
It's sad. It's not funny, but I literally could not get through that. And
It
the
made me
like
hot.
the run-on sentences, the like stopping and switching. That wasn't me. That was
No,
literally what he said.
we know he has a word for that. He calls it. Oh, what did he call it? That he's like a weaver or something, and he like weaves this
And it's
8
genius.
different stories together.
That's why he's a genius.
And all his college English professor friends says he's a genius.
I can say words too.
Yes, I can also throw words into a blender and blend them up.
Mm-hmm. That's what it said. Word salad from Stable Genius. That was the title of that. Oh my god.
That was too much.
And I hope that in a month we're still laughing about that and not like running in fear.
I can't even comprehend that right now. I can't even comprehend the fear and devastation that will.
It's all I can think about.
And what I do know is that our early voting here in Cuyahoga County started on Tuesday, and they had a record number of people for the day.
Yay.
500 more people than their heaviest traffic day ever on day one.
That's got to be good. I mean, a big turnout is usually strong for Democrats.
Yes. So my husband and I this week they're open till 5 every day, Monday through Friday. Next week they're open till 6. So I think we're going to go next week sometime. And vote.
I mailed in my ballot and then I checked and it said it was received.
Good.
So
I like
I'm
them.
all good. In Virginia, they are purging voting records like right and left. And so wherever you live, I live in a blue state, a very blue state. And I mean, we have a Republican governor, but we have our our US senators are both Democrats. Our House and our Senate are both Democrat.
Right.
Very blue, and still they're purging voting records. So
Yeah.
no matter what color your state is, if you haven't voted, go online and check because it's very likely that you're not.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, it makes sense that every few years they clean up the rolls. It's why that is the big issue. At least in Virginia, they're cleaning up the rolls. They're just trying to make them better data, as opposed to in Ohio, where they're trying to disenfranchise voters.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
I think that it's ill will in
Oh,
Virginia.
it's malicious with nefarious intent.
It is nefarious. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, so and it happens like polling places change. So if you're voting on election day, go online, make sure you're registered to vote, and make sure you know where you're supposed to vote.
Yeah, mine
And
changed.
I checked with a ton of people. I mean, I just ran into so many people over Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
I checked and I got so many people who either told me their voting plan or told me they already voted.
Good. Good.
And a friend of mine was like, he was joking around that he was like, I voted several times already. And my cousin, we ran into a family friend and a cousin in the parking lot,
Yeah.
and our cousin was like, "Don't do that in Virginia. Go to North Carolina and vote twice."
Right. If you do it where it matters.
Disclaimer: no one's voted twice. This
No.
was a good joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And if they do, they're idiots, and it's not enough to swing an election. Okay.
Anyway, that was ridiculous.
I
How
can't
can someone talk like that and he's still getting 50% of the vote?
It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas that he's so hard to beat. It makes no sense.
It's Fox News. It's just because
Yeah.
people are just, that's all they can watch.
Yeah.
And read
They
about, like Michael, the conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can validate anything if you search hard enough on the internet.
Right.
You probably don't even have to search hard. You can find anything to validate an opinion or thought that you have.
Yeah.
So
I think I mentioned this before, but I went online and looked at, I don't know why I did this, but I looked at and like truthers.
Yeah.
Just like explain this to me. Like there's so many people out there. Someone's got to be able to explain it to me. And there were a few people that kind of made some sense. Like I don't know why anybody would do this, but if you look at like the bottom of the buildings right before they fell, it looks like a controlled explosion. But what it was that the buildings had like given up, and the bottom, like smoke and dust
The
and
bottom
everything
gave first.
coming
Yeah.
out the bottom before it actually fell.
Right.
It
Right.
really looks like the same thing it looks like when there's a controlled explosion. But what would be the point of that?
Right. They were already destroyed with planes. Why?
And like people were like, the planes were empty, and it wasn't a plane at the Pentagon. No one saw a plane. They were like, it was an explosion from inside, and the government did it.
Of course.
Yeah. And that was George W., who I hated, but he wouldn't do that.
No, I don't. Yeah.
I mean, he might do it in, Iraq, but he wouldn't do that here.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fucked a lot of shit up. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get into this because it was so complicated. But the Crooked Media podcast, What a Day, on Saturdays they now have, it's just a Monday through Friday news thing. But on Saturdays they now have these two people who try and take like half an hour to tell a story about how we got somewhere where we are today. And they were talking about Israel and Iran, as in just like the last few weeks. And shit goes back to, it goes really far back, but so much started with W. And it's like a domino effect from the friggin' WMDs.
Right.
And like it's possible that this wouldn't be happening now as it's happening if that hadn't have happened back there. And I'm like, oh.
Well, I mean, the modern day conflict, I get that. I totally get that. But that's just been going on for 5,000 years.
Right. They were saying like not including the the bigger historical picture, but more of the political logistics.
Right.
Anyway, I tried so hard to listen to it because I really, really, really wanted to understand it. And I need maps, and I need to put it at like half speed.
Yeah.
And like,
so when I was going through my World War II Wikipedia deep dive, in a browser window, I had a map open because I'm not good with geography.
Right.
Like, look, last night, I'm a reasonably smart person. Last night I went to my cousin's and I got so friggin' lost, and it's like
Yeah.
10 minutes from my house. Like, I had to turn around a couple times, and there was a car behind me, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I hope this isn't anybody I know because I'm driving like a crazy person."
Oh my God,
And I get
no.
to my cousin's house and get out of the car, and this guy gets out of the car who I know, and he was like, "What happened to you?" And I'm like, "I got lost." So, like, no, I don't know. I'm not good with I'm not good with geography 10 minutes from my house. I'm not good with geography. But it really helped me to have that map
Yeah.
out. And it did when I watched that documentary on the Cold War.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and if I have time, listen again with a map because I think it'll help me understand the players more.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming to our I don't know what this episode is.
Nonsense. All the weirdness.
That's all the weirdness. Gosh, we really hit on. I'm surprised we got any you two in there.
We got a little, I had a little bit of you too.
You did, and the
No, I
pictures
don't
of
really
you.
know what the story was, but this guy went to a U2 show in
I
Dublin.
mean, what's more rock and roll? I'm glad he had that experience. That's fantastic.
I think I'm gonna call this circles
I think that's a good one.
because we did that, and God
We
knows
were.
what Trump was talking about.
I think this is a good one. Circles, yeah.
Circles,
Beautiful circles.
gorgeous circles, circles
The
like we've never
best
seen,
circles.
and they were filled with circles.
All
And then
I'm picturing
we had circles, and then we lost.
Biden circles. There, I don't. At some point when you were reading that, I had a field with like the crop circles, and Biden was standing in the middle of one. But there was also a rocket landing within 10 feet.
Of the moon. It was 10 feet where it was supposed to go. It was 10 feet by the, close to
But
the
it
moon.
sounds like it landed 10 feet by the moon, not on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cylinders and I cannot remember the last time I laughed that hard.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Thanks for
thank
coming to
you.
circles with us, y'all.
Beautiful circles. Most perfect circles I've ever seen. There've ever been.
They're
Perfect.
huge. They're huge.
And teeny.
Oh gosh.
What a fucking moron.
What a fucking moron.
Yeah, because if we listen to this a year from now, I mean, we will be crying anyway around it.
Right. Right. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so like at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, you kind of reflect on the last year, and I'm just glad this year is over. I mean, I'll be happier in December, but like in terms of the Jewish year, it's been one hell of a year. Just glad it's behind us, and I hope we all have a good new year.
Good New Year. Yeah. For sure. Well, here's to Doug,
To Doug,
our resident White House Jew.
who'll be future first mensch.
Oh, be so great.
My dad has that campaign button.
I love it. I
Doug
love it.
first mensch.
Okay. Well, good night, y'all. Thanks for coming on this
Thank you.
insane journey with us.
Thanks for putting up with our nonsense. This was definitely nonsense tonight.
So much nonsense.
It wasn't our nonsense, actually.
No, we just repeated it.
We just caught up other nonsense
Yeah. Yeah.
and brought it to you specially.
Especially just for
Yeah.
you on a platter.
Until next week, and we really gotta start working on how to smell an atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
Oh, I did have one other YouTube thing to say really, really
Okay.
quickly, and
Okay.
then I gotta be done. I was driving last night over to my cousin's house, and I always put my phone on shuffle, and Running to Standstill came on.
Yeah.
And I love and hate this, but when it came on, I felt like I was at Joshua Tree 30.
Yeah.
And like, I was really hoping that wouldn't happen because I like it when I feel like I'm back in Joshua Tree age. Like,
Oh,
I
got
hear
you.
it and it sounds like the first time I heard it. And
Yeah.
this sounded like first time I heard it during the Joshua
And
Tree 30.
more recently, yeah.
So it changed.
Yeah.
It changed for me. Like, I'm
Interesting.
not
Yeah.
sure that other songs, I've not encountered other songs that have done that. But Running to Standstill definitely, it felt like,
Interesting.
yeah. I don't like for my memories to like be altered. I always get
Yeah.
nervous when we like record an episode. I always get nervous about that. Like, am I going to hear these songs differently now than I did before? And
Before
it
the episode.
happens, but I
It
like
does happen.
to have that fresh sound.
Well, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. Actually, I have a song of the week. I decided I was going to mention this, and I didn't mention it. But it's Madman Across the Water by Elton John. That is
Okay.
one good song. If you haven't heard that,
I don't know that I've heard it.
it's like, it's not your average Elton John song. It's a little more deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to it.
We need to make that a feature every week.
Song of the week.
Song, just any song. It doesn't have to be you two.
Yep. I
But
like that. I like that.
So Madman Across the Water.
Yeah. I wonder what we could ask Bono for his Whiskey and Cake what his song of the week is.
Yeah. I feel like my song should be Leonard Cohen because I just was in like Leonard Cohen
Yeah.
version.
Land. Yeah.
But it's not. It's Elton John.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't think Leonard would mind.
I don't know. I think he'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
But listen to it.
Yes, we'll do.
Yeah.
We'll listen to it. Okay, y'all.
Okay. I need to take a shower. I'm so hot.
Go put your hair up right now.
I am right now.
We'll say good night and good night to Hillary's hair.
It's been down for too long. I am a long hair girl, but like I like my hair long, but it drives me.
But you also like it up.
Yeah.
It's a cute ponytail. So
it's getting there.
Girl. Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Have a good week.
Okay. Until next time.
Tune in next week. Maybe we'll have YouTube news.
Maybe.
No more surf.
Not, we'll be here.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
We'll be back next week with more U2ish content.
In the meantime, keep chatting with us on social media at _Garden Tarts.
Sign up for our newsletter at thegardentarts.com and share with your YouTube friends.
You can support us on Patreon, buy me a coffee, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Kissing Lips and Breaking Hearts, a U2ish podcast with the Garden Tarts, is created, produced, and edited by us, the Garden Tarts.
Intro and outro music by December.
See you next week.